Today we're taking a look at the rather interesting Fujifilm X-E5. So I'm recording the intro with the X-E5 in 4K HQ 3.5 under 15 to 45 lens. In this video, if all goes well, you'll see samples from the f23mm, the new one that will be on the channel, the 50 to 140 that I own, the 16 to 55 I think I'll use to record the in-studio bits, the final bits. I'm not sure if there's space for any other lenses, to be honest, but nice little broad array. We're going to give this camera a good bit of use and abuse over the next month. It's starting to rain now, so you know what, I'm just going to do the autofocus test that I normally just do with with lens reviews, just for the crap, because I've seen how this thing performs with the XF23 that's included in the kit. And if the screen's anything to go by, this is performing much better. Interesting. That's that done. Let's have a look at it in the studio and get on with this thing. There's a lot going on with this camera. Let's crack on. I am absolutely falling in love with the feel of this thing. If you've used the X100 series, especially the latest iteration at the point of recording, you've got a pretty decent idea of how it feels. Everything is lined up beautifully, flush, simple, no logo on the front. Absolutely love that. Logo on the top, along with everything else on the top plate, all aluminium. Of course, this thing weighs 215 grams. I'm happy that this film simulation dial is flush, hidden, and I suppose very easy to use. I wasn't happy about it on a T50, as you know. This dial, absolutely fine. Set it back to A. I was on 60 for shooting video. Compensation, absolutely fine. Nice little button there. On, off, business as usual. On the back, decent little EVF, which actually has a classic display mode, the surround view mode for an OVF-esque experience. So I'll probably be testing that, but I'm kind of happy with the EVF as it is. Dials, well, as you saw, that's the film simulation dial. Let me get it back to there, because you can't lock it. So you just got to be careful with that. But I shoot in RAW for photography. These buttons on the back, nice dials. Everything has the nice texture to it. Let's just flick it on, boot it up, straight in. No bother at all. Let's get it over into stills. So no lens on at the moment, so it's all blank. Everything just works really well. Of course, inside this thing, we have the latest X-Trans 5 40 megapixel sensor, X processor 5.2. So that's something that I really wanted to get into more, especially lately, testing gear. It's all well and good doing it on older bodies, and for the budget stuff is perfect, but sometimes you just want that extra oomph that this offers. Now this offers, importantly for me, this is constantly getting marks on it. Out and about I don't bother wiping it, but just for the sake of this I do. We've got this nice screen here, and I really wanted to flip up this time round, or I should say I really want to flip up with IBIS, because I still don't own this. And that is very nice, but it also fits super flush to the back. Quite happy with that. Now, we have the latest AF in here. We have a lower ISO 125. We've got subject detection, but there's no product showcase mode, which I would have liked that you get on the XS20. I don't know about the XS10, but the XS20 could have done with that, but these are all extra features to the intended purpose of this camera. As you know, I've been using it beyond its intended purpose, and I'm very happy. So we've got a little diopter adjuster there. If we flick open this nice flush door, mic, USB and mini HDMI as expected. On the flip, you've got nothing, but you do have a nice flush, I must stop using that word, Q button, so you can pop up and use your menus there, and that works with the touch screen too. We need to set this for stills because I've only used it for video up until this point, and that is not how I'm going to have it. Anyway, that's absolutely fine. Look at it. It is rather beautiful. This is my preference as well. On the bottom, Bluetooth button for what it's worth. I'm glad it's hidden away, and it's actually under flush. It's actually under, it's got a bit of space under it. I'm not showing that very well. A bit of space from the bottom plate, so you're not going to knock it when you put the camera down on anything. And there's actually a little notch there to give you some extra clearance, especially from the bottom plates. A little bit extra clearance. So you've got the older battery and the cards in there, and the screw point, which is not flush with the lens, but center, more or less center with the body. Lens is slightly off, but that's a minor. Anyway, this is a quick look at how cool it is. And of course, with the kit lens, as we said or will say, depending when this goes out, I think that is a beautiful combo, at least look wise. Right, that's enough. This bit was supposed to be just a very quick close-up look, but I just really like looking at it. Look at that. Okay, so I've used the X-E5 on interview shoots, video pieces, lens tests, portrait shoots, and right now for this scene. In fact, I've been using it on a bunch of videos. Let's see, Brighton Star 35, Astri 85. I forget what else I've used it on, the XF23 video, and a bunch of other videos, and there'll be more also as the next couple of weeks go on before this goes back. So no waving it around, but we'll try and fill this with B-roll. I mean, we need more B-roll as it is, frankly. The B-roll will actually be done with my T4, I think. I need one of these X-E5s. Anyway, yeah, so for a smaller body, it's fairly easy to work with. Of course, the heavier the lens, the longer the shoot, the less comfortable it becomes, and that's understandable. I appreciate the grip on it, and if I needed, I'd probably get a hand grip for the longer shoots. The camera's not really designed for that sort of stuff, but that's my experience so far. I think I could deal with it. Now, the buttons are well placed for the most part and work well. I'm really happy that I can now assign a button to switch on subject detection, and well, there's no product showcase mode, which should be simple enough to include, so that's a bit awkward. Front control lever is actually really cool. Being able to have 5 customizable functions right there, very clever. Now, I think I'd prefer the focus switch to be on the front, as I've managed to accidentally change it a few times. I'm glad we've got it. I just think it could be placed away from where my thumb might sit when shooting. For general shooting, I'm a big fan of a tilt-up screen as opposed to a fully articulating screen, which does have its benefits in some situations. But this camera actually came with a surprise that I didn't realize. You can actually flip it up, as I'm doing right now recording this, so you can see yourself from the front. I'd be very careful doing that too quickly, but it's a very nice touch that I really didn't expect, especially from a screen that fits so flush on the camera body. Well done, Fujifilm. Now, battery life is an interesting topic, kind of. It's perfectly fine. I'm getting around 900 shots, stills and video, minor chimping here and there. It's still wild to me how so many big review pages and channels simply state the CIPA rating and not a real world experience. I guess they don't shoot enough in testing to be able to say what their real world experience is. So look out for that. If you hear them just talk about the CIPA rating, there's a chance they haven't used the thing enough, frankly. Anyway, there's a lot more going on with this camera that we could bore ourselves with, like the overlay and the EVF, the digital conversion, both of which are fine, but not things that I use. So let me just say, overall, build and handling, both really good. It's a fairly trimmed down experience, but I'm happy. I just wish they would have included weather sealing, but you can't have it all these days, can you? Image quality is fantastic, as we expect from the latest Fujifilm sensor and processor combination. It's pretty much what we saw with the X-H2S, X-H2, X-T5, XS20, X106, and of course the X-T50, all of which we've looked on this channel. It's probably my favourite APS-C sensor at the time of recording. Frankly, I'd only really want for better high ISO performance at f8, but then I do use DxO Pure Raw to help me out. Even if that software isn't working perfectly with the E5 yet, it's currently underexposing all my converted files once they've gone to DNG, but they bump back up with no problems at all, but it's kind of annoying. While the camera is primarily set up for stills, I found the video, as I'm attempting to do right now, very capable, if not with quite the same image quality performance as in stills mode. It's a little less detailed, but still very workable. I prefer to shoot in 4K HQ, even though it has a small crop. IBIS works really well and is one of the main reasons I'd consider buying this over a previous model. Now, I wasn't going to talk much about the film dial, if at all, as it's not really my bag, but at least it's relatively discreet. Although I wonder if it would have been better if the dial had been designed to push interchange selections to avoid any user error. Just a little push on the dial to turn instead of just a loose turn. Anyway, I test in RAW, shoot RAW way more than JPEG these days, so hey ho, it does look cool though, at least. Is it worth it? Well, this is where it gets complicated. The X-E5 sees a huge price jump from the previous models, and that's not good. But I'm still very, very tempted, and Fujifilm know it. $12.99 body only, or $15.49 with the 23mm lens that you'll see on this channel too. It's a decent lump of cash, but the camera is that good for what I want, primarily travel, but also a camera I can use for lens tests and shooting myself like this. I think that would make it a decent investment. Now, I've never owned an XE series camera, though I have tried them all, so it might be time. Now, if you don't need something this compact and you don't mind the other form factor, think about the T5. You get more camera for, let's just say, almost not that much more cash, more or less. Or maybe you need something smaller and the T50 is your thing. I'm afraid I fell out of love with that camera, strangely, considering I absolutely love the T20 and T30. Anyway, this is no longer in the same affordable price range as the earlier models, but that's the way of the world, and Fujifilm know they'll sell well. So what you're gonna do? It's a lot of money, so make your decision wisely. Get in store and test it out. See if you get on with it well. See if it fits well in your hands. That's my forever advice. Don't just look at the specs or listen to opinions like mine. Not that there's anything wrong with my opinions, of course, but you need to hear a lot of opinions and then get your own hands on it, frankly. Once you've tried it out, let us know in the comment section how you feel about it. Until then, take it easy.